was a record. That's the shortest meeting we've ever had.
Today, is May 28th, it's just after 9. This is the Blue Ribbon Committee on the Miller Middle School. And we are all present except for Nancy Taylor, who is excused. And with that, we'll go to the approval of the minutes. Nancy had supplied us by changes.
We did receive an email from Ms. Taylor, with her corrections and her approval of the minutes.
Okay. With that in mind, I move that we approve the minutes as they are presented to us with the corrections.
Second.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any nays? No nays. The minutes are approved from January to May 19th. And so next on our agenda, John, any update on the school?
Well, at our last meeting, I was asked to contact Superintendent Rick Sturansey regarding the possible mold issue that might start coming in the older building, number one, because of the rainy season. I did talk with him. He basically gave me the same reaction as before. He said he didn't see how the school district could take money from an active school and put it into a school that has no students. I said, I understand that, but it is an issue. Is there anything that can be done? He said, well, I don't know at this point. And then I said, if we came up with the funds, would the school district put it in? He said he would look into, and I told him the last time it was about $5,000 was the estimate. He said he would look into it again, and he didn't see a problem with that if the community could come up with the funds. And I also told him that the city was going in the process of applying for a grant relating to the older buildings. And REG was coming up with some recommendations, and that there might be a request for a letter because the school district being the owner of the property. He said he looked forward to the request and would supply a letter if the city, as the city needed it. So I don't know if that's been done or not. So that's where that's my report.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Tower opinion report. We're going to delete that from future agendas, please.
Absolutely.
EJ, you don't see any reason to keep it. Thank you. The REG report. I was hoping for an updated report.
I received a link to the final report after we had the meeting. That was last week. Feels like it was a month ago. After they did the draft and, did it all over Zoom, I got a link was sent to Christina, which I thought was distributed to us, that had the final report on it.
When I pulled that up, I saw the earlier date, I think of May 21st. So I assumed that it was not the most current update.
Because when I pulled it up, it just said it was, edited that day or the day before or something, so it was only a day old. We can get the updated thing. But I have an email here that the clerk sent out. This is Commissioners, as you requested, I've included a download link to the final MEP structural assessment report. That's just that part. But that download link is weird. It doesn't really. Yeah, it's not. But there was another one that goes to OneDrive, and it had updated reports.
Oh, it did?
Yes. So you might need to just click on it, because it's in the same place that the old link was, because they just put it on there. Or you have updated it. And I don't have it on here. I don't know where it is. But I don't know. I downloaded the updated reports now, but I have not compared them. But the dates on them were updated. They were more recent.
Okay, so it's there, we just have to look
I believe so. Yes.
further for it. And
So are we saying that the REG report is finished?
I believe it's finished. I'm gonna find out just a second. May 22nd. Yeah, May 22nd, I got a link that said final package. And let's see what it says. Yeah, it says it was 6 days ago, so the day it was sent to me was the final report. And it's got there's 3 reports in the OneDrive link, and one was May 14th, which was the, I think that was the structural report, yeah.
Do we have any figures?
Yeah, I believe they're in there. Yeah, there's the structural report that is dated May 14th, but that hasn't been, there's no update to that. So I think that might be where the confusion is, because that was the engineer's report, and I don't think any of that has changed. Then there's the other 2 links that are the as-built conceptual stuff, which I think they made some changes to, like we had asked them to. And then, oh yeah, so it's done. The final report is available.
So, I would like to suggest that the
Yeah, it's
one report that's been updated, that be sent to each of us by itself.
okay.
Can that be done?
It is it's a large file. I can send out the link to you.
Well, that would be easier, wouldn't
The link,
it? Yeah,
yes,
okay.
because it's
If that could be done,
it's 53.3 megs, so it's large.
the
You can't attach
link
it.
would be fine. That would isolate it, and
Okay.
thank you.
So right there.
Well, that's the general leak, correct?
Yes,
I'm on it
it's-
now.
Yeah, there should be 3 files in there. And it has the dates next to it. It should have the dates when they were last updated. Forward. Nancy, if I forward this to the clerk email, can you send it?
Yes.
Yeah, I've just tried to open the link and I'm getting WeTransfer.com.
Yeah, that's not the right link. That's not the right link. It's a link that says final report, and I will.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, the final package, it's not a link, it'll open a little directory in OneDrive on SharePoint, so that's what you want. Actually, I think I have his email, so I can do it. Ron,
Well, I can't, that's not appearing either.
Is that your email? is it your email RCW32?
And sure, yes.
Well, anyways, thank you, Commissioner, for doing that
No
for us.
problem, I'm doing it right now. Yeah, Nancy. I got everyone's email address, I didn't think about that.
I think once we get the report, we need to start looking at it as to what is necessary to make the building usable. And what might be part of a wish list on their part.
Yeah.
You know, these people are historical preservationists,
And, you know, their cost estimates and stuff like that are to basically rebuild the building to almost brand new, but, you know, with historical elements in place.
if that's their bent, it's not gonna work. If the bottom line is, you know, you build a whole new school for what they're recommending.
Yeah, clearly, they've done an excellent job in their detailed reporting on the physical condition. Their figures also represent the most finest rebuild possible.
Yeah,
And all at once.
Yes.
anyway,
Like any,
if we as a committee or the city or whomever will look at it and see what's necessary and what's wish list. At one point, they recommended an elevator.
Yeah.
I just don't think an elevator is appropriate.
well, not at this time, but they've done a good job,
Yeah,
and now it's our job, like anyone's gotten a large proposal to cut it down.
It's set up very well for handicap access.
Yes, yeah.
Elevator would be nice, but you're looking at a very small elevator, around $115,000. We looked into it at the church, and that was about as cheap as we could find an elevator.
And those are kind of
And for
small ones.
like I say, there's ramps, there's everything down there where you can reach every part of that building except the basement. And if you get to the point where the basement needs a lift, you can put in a very inexpensive lift on the north end of the building, right next to the steps, that just goes up and down. But we used to have one out at the gym where we had to lift people up to get them into the gym, and they're not expensive at all.
yeah.
Well, clearly, the elevator shows a line item that will be one of the least priorities.
Yeah.
It may never come to be.
So,
So,
and like Ron said, you know, if you need to have ADA access to the basement, I don't really foresee that being an issue that, you know, we're not gonna be using the basement for anything publicly oriented, you know, in any time probably in the future, or at least in the near future, you know, or sometime down the road possibly, but I mean, I think the basement, I don't wanna be going out of the basement. And I think that there's uses that we can utilize without having to have an elevator.
well, that's exactly the point. There are other alternatives, and that exists, so. Well, very good.
Anyway, we look forward to the report. We know they've done a lot of great detail work and when we see the report, we'll go from there.
Yes, we'll start working.
They, I need to contact them because their numbers are. Yeah, the grand total numbers on here, it says, the low end is $15,442,500. The medium is $70,000, and the high is $105,000. So I think there's some zeros missing in there.
That was for what?
For what?
For the grand total for the whole school.
For all 5 buildings?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So there's some zeros missing though. I don't think we can do it for $75,000.
Well, we hope we can.
Yeah, right. That would be, but especially when building 5 is $3 million on its own, I don't think that adds up to $75,000, so,
Well, that's interesting, yeah.
yeah,
Something like
There's-
3 orders of magnitude.
yeah, 3 zeros missing, but, I mean, I feel like the low end, the total is 15 million. That's doable.
That was the high,
That's the low.
and that's the low.
But they had recalculated some things, and I guess when they recalculated, I think they messed up. Because it says the overall proposed renovation for all 5 buildings is 61,000 square feet. But I thought we were calculating it out something like 80,000, wasn't it?
Well, once we get it, we need to see what's in that figure.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at it right now. And I think, yeah, numbers are,
I mean, if the figure's too high, it's impossible.
no, but I mean, the figures are way too low. It's not $75,000 total.
Well, we can assume that I'll pay 3 orders and make
Yeah,
that's 75.
There's 3 zeros there.
So rather than trifle over that,
Yeah.
move to Jen's point.
Well, I don't, and since Christina's not here, I guess I can fill you in on what happened at our special meeting yesterday. I think we've come to the conclusion that Christina has reached out to the grant writer that was suggested to us by RUG. She has not gotten a response. I don't know why, or if she has tried to contact again and reach out, I don't know. But we are up against a really hard deadline, and that's Monday, 5 p.m. The commission last night just didn't even entertain the idea of actually applying for the grant. Because one, we need to have $62,500 in cash as part of the match. There needs to be in-kind labor and stuff to make up the other 25% of the 25%. We never got a recommendation from REG as to what to spend the money on. I don't know why Christina hasn't followed up on that, but she did not as of yesterday. We don't have staff to write a grant. And I was gonna try to help Christina. I don't think we can get it done. We need to have letters of support. We have to get the letter from the school district. Last night at the meeting, they said, well, the school board's not gonna meet until June. I'm like, I didn't think it doesn't matter about the school board, the school district was gonna do it, at the certainty was. But I just don't know how we could get it done. I mean, if I worked on it every day for the next 3 days, I don't think I could still get it done. It's just too much. And I mean, the deadline just came up, and without a permanent city manager and everything else, things just kind of got, and Memorial Day holiday messed everything up. And Rachel being out of town and me being out of commission.
It looks like it won't happen on this round.
Yeah, because I mean,
Well, it was a tight schedule.
yes, it was.
We were going to approach Paul Weaver on it.
Yeah, well, she approached Paul Weaver, and what Paul Weaver suggested was doing the small matching grant. Because there's 2 different programs that the state of Florida does, the Department of Historic Resources. There's the small matching grant, which is up to $50,000. And it's called a matching grant because we're an REDI in a Main Street community, we don't have to do the match. So it's $50,000 with no match. Then there's the special category grants. And those are the ones that are up to $1 million. Those are the ones that, Rick Gonzalez is on the historical commission that approves. And those are, like Hastings Main Street is doing the high school there. They have that. They're in there for this year for $1 million. And that's like a 2-year cycle too. So you get the $1 million and you have 2 years to spend it basically and make it all happen. And that process to do those grants is way more complicated than the $50,000 grant, obviously. I mean, it's.
But that was the grant that we were going to go,
Yes.
hoping to go after, so.
Yeah.
So Paul's reason not to pursue it was because of the timeline,
Yeah, I think that,
just too short of a time.
yes, he's helping us do the matching grant.
So we should start the process soon for next year.
Right, if that's what, yeah. And, there's gonna have to be, like even, the $62,500 is on the low end. That's what is required for you to have in cash. And then the rest of it, to make up your match. So usually it's a 50% match on the big special category grants. Because we're an REDI community, we can do 25% match. But that's still, if you're doing $1 million, it's $250,000. but you only have to have a quarter of that, so 25% of 25%, that's where you get the $62,000. Charles and I went around and around about this before, and so, but you can do the rest of it with staff time and in-kind work and that kind of stuff, but you still have to calculate all that out and have it on the schedule and say what you're gonna do and then keep to it, and it's,
When do you recommend that we start with that process?
well, I mean, I think we should keep pursuing it, but we need to find a grant writer that knows how to do this. Like a real honest to God grant writer that,
And the commissioner, our grant writers that the city currently works with, the two, are you saying there's someone possibly better or experienced?
I think that we need to find someone that deals with these kind of grants specifically, like the woman that REG
Yes.
suggested.
Therefore, because of the June 1st deadline Monday, I can see why she probably didn't have time to call back.
Yeah, they give us till Monday, which is June 2nd, but, June
Right.
1st is usually the,
Yeah.
now we're still doing, Paul Weaver's, we're doing the grant that he suggested, the $50,000 one. I have to help Christina on it, but that's a much shorter process. I've done it the last 2 years with Charles Rudd. And that one is not, that's child's play compared to the other one. Obviously, we need to pay the amount of money too. But, one thing that, during that meeting last week that Brian Moore said is that, we could replace the roofs on the two buildings, 4 and 5. Well, they're not historic buildings. They're not old enough. So you can't get a Department of Historic Research grant and use it on a non-historic building. And both the other building, or all three of the other buildings that are historic have a new roof. Basically, that metal roof is there, and it's gonna last. So, we needed to get, obviously, we know building one needs a lot of work, but we need to have a specific project, like doing, electrical or doing, something like that, and have a cost estimate. We didn't have to have bids, I think, from a contractor to put that. There's no way we could get that in time.
Those two buildings with being re-roofed with metal, as we discussed that day, the shingles that are on now are only 20 years old. So realistically, they should last another 10 years. Unless they bought a very poor asphalt shingle, but I
can just tell
can
you
imagine
from
that, so.
my stepfather's view, being a roofing person in Florida, 30-year shingles do not last 30 years. I know that, everywhere else they might, but not in Florida. They last about 20 is the max. And I've been looking at that roof on the media center, and it's gonna need to be replaced soon. And that is older than that's older than the cafeteria roof, because when they added and renovated the cafeteria in 2006.
Might I suggest we're getting into too much detail?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, all right. Anything more on RG?
they are gonna be here in June, at our June commission meeting, to present the report to the commission.
Remind us what date that is.
The 8th, I think. Let me check. Do you know that?
I
There I go.
believe it is,
June, I'm sorry, June
12th.
12th. Oh, I thought it was the 8th. 12th.
Yes.
And Rick Gonzalez is going to actually be here to present what is planned.
Mr. Chairman, on the issue of hiring a grant writer, is the city prepared to pay the grant writer?
That was what, at our last commission meeting, what we had asked to find out, to see what the cost would be. But obviously, without getting in contact with the grant writer, we don't, I think it's something that we could, I don't know. You've seen how the commission has responded to requests for the school in the past.
I find that the most troubling aspect of this rather than any deadline. I don't think the June 1st deadline is ever realistic, to be honest. I don't think any of us believe that. But hiring a grant writer is something that we have to have assets to draw from.
Well, at yesterday's special meeting, it really wasn't discussed. because there wasn't a proper, contact with a grant writer or a proposal, so there was really nothing on that larger grant for the city to, consider. Going forward, it is a very important point, and one that I think we should press on, with. When, BJ, when is the budget, when does that process start?
Right now, the department heads are putting together their requests. We will start having workshops in June. In fact, we covered that. You know, Nancy, when we're having our first workshop?
Not off the top of my head.
I know that, Steve presented a schedule, or, a rough schedule for workshops, and I can look it up and see if I can find it.
So our timing is
Right.
now, and the immediate need is to get some sense, is to find a grant writer that can do the quality report, and then get a price, and then submit a budget request to the city. Would you agree, Commissioner?
Yes, I mean, even a round number, I guess, really would be sufficient just
Sure.
to be able for us to budget it and see if we can fit it in there. Because if we get it in the budget, then it's really, less of a fight later on. Because if it's a line item in the budget, it's basically approved.
Exactly, yeah.
So you're right, the time is now for that. And if we can get it in the, we get in the line item in the budget, that would be great. Oh, here's the schedule, sorry. The first, commission budget workshop, it looks like is in July.
When is final approval required?
We'll have two meetings in September. So it'll be the regular meeting that we usually have on the second Thursday, and then we usually have one 2 weeks later in September. And that's when the final budget approval is. We have to do it twice, and it's advertised in between. So September, because October 1st is the beginning of the fiscal year.
So towards the end of September.
September, yeah. But I mean, the earlier, it's the workshops are when it matters. So when we're doing the workshops and we're discussing and we're adding things up and we're trying to make it all, that's when it really is important to get those items in. Because by the time we get to September, everything's balanced, everything is budgeted, everything kind of adds up. And like I always tell people, it's kind of late to be complaining about something in the budget or not being in the budget, because at that point, we've spent hours and hours making it all work and, balance out. It's at the beginning with the workshops, that's when that stuff has to be in there so we can try and accommodate it.
So what I would suggest then is if it's going to be the end of the summer before we can even know whether we have a budget to hire a grant writer, and that grant writer is going to have to be on the ball in October to meet next year's grant deadline. There's a lot of work putting that together. The only thing that we can do in the meantime is to sit down and figure out what the priority is for the individual repairs and individual buildings.
That's right.
Which buildings need roofs, which ones really don't. And,
Well taken.
yeah, and move through this report and make some hard decisions about what's realistic and move from high priority to low priority. So that we can get the grant writer started in good shape, because there's no time to waste.
And if the Blue Ribbon Committee can find a grant writer and suggest one to the city commission and have bring a cost, to the commission, that would be very helpful, I think. Because that would definitely help move things along and in the right direction. Because, obviously it's a little difficult for the commission to get this stuff done.
Well, and also in management of the city, the city is in a transitional
Yes.
period, so it may be more helpful for us to pursue it.
I think so. I think that would be the best course of action. And our new city manager starts Monday, so we're all excited. At least I am.
Would you say he has grant writing experience?
I would not. I wouldn't make that assumption.
That's what I thought, but I've not seen his resume.
But I mean, he does have a large amount of experience, and utilities and estimating and doing construction projects, that kind of stuff. So I mean, his,
Could be.
yeah, he might have some, or he's be able to add something to the conversation,
You can absolutely contribute to the grant process.
especially when it comes
Yes.
to the utilities.
But
Because that's one of the things that, you know, if you notice, or looking at the report, the electricity, is all a mess, you know, it comes in at 3 different places and goes in through, they're all old boxes that are way past their life
yeah,
and all that stuff, and
the
that,
better the situation we get managed.
Yeah.
But I would strongly suggest that we focus on the recommendation of REG for the grant writer. They've already handed us
Yes,
with all haste,
I
get
agree.
in touch with that person.
Yeah.
I mean, we're being handed a really good reference.
right, I mean, and that's why we had the report commissioned, really. Was so we could get all this information. I really wish we had been able to do the other 4 buildings, but we know they are newer, and I believe that in the next few months, I might be able to approach Rick Bowles, the architect across the street here that owns the People's Bank. He talked to me and offered his assistance, because he actually has the 3D scanner himself, like they used on the rest of the buildings to do the plans. And so I don't know if we could convince him to do it gratis, but he might be able to do it for much less than what RG was gonna, but so at least we could have, because we don't have plans for any of those buildings. There are no as-built, I mean, now there are for, RG had them done, but those other,
well, Commissioner, to your point, which is well taken, we have a valuable resource
yes.
within our city who is volunteer to help.
And we have an architect, another architect as well, being, Michael Frank has offered to help us as well. So I mean, those are serious offers of experienced people that have, you know, very valuable knowledge.
It's been clear all along what the community wants.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm often approached by our neighbors what the status is. And they're all with great hope. Okay, anything more on REG?
I don't know RG, but I'd like to make a couple of points. We talk about doing this and all these updates and grants and things, but at what point are we officially going to see whether or not we're going to acquire the school?
We're gonna require,
We're going to acquire the school. If we're ever allowed to approach the school board and they say, no, the only way you can get it is pay us $4 million, then we've done a lot of work for nothing.
Didn't we just witness the cities rejecting an offer of taking it for $100?
I've never heard about that. But I know we need to approach the city to get permission to approach the school board and present our case and see if they're going to accept our terms for taking over the school. The other point would be, I think at this point, we need to have the city start contacting people to see if we can get people to commit to be partners in this project. Instead of waiting to the last minute, I think that would go a long ways toward convincing the city commission that this is a good project, and to do it is if we have people signed up, Johnny Morris, St. John State University, St. Augustine Tech. I think we need to proceed in that direction rather than spending so much time on doing something that we don't own yet.
yes, and there has to be an agreement for that to happen.
Right, and
So,
not a contract, an agreement.
yeah,
What's the status of that agreement? Wasn't that in
The
works?
commission, you know, did retain Charlie Douglas. He was instructed not to do anything unless it was at the direction of the city manager.
Oh,
And so the city manager has not, I believe, instructed him to do anything, because the city commission has not instructed the city manager to instruct him to do it. It's,
it's a simple thing.
yeah, it's, I we could have a vote tomorrow on the commission, and we would win probably 3-2. But this is something that's gonna require votes after votes after votes. Every time we go and we establish a contract, we find, a tenant, we approve a grant, that stuff. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't have the energy to fight that fight every single meeting. It's already worn me down for the last year.
Well, I don't mind continuing.
Well, but I mean, it would be an uphill battle every single meeting, and every single time, even,
But it must be done. And so, we need to pursue. But I think that Ron has a valid point, that we, in the short term, we need to pursue, how and when it can be acquired.
As I told you before, I talked to a former superintendent, and she stated that if Rick wants to give us the school, he can. He has that authority, even if it's for $1. But once we get that, I think we need to have partners lined up that have committed that they'll go into this with us. Otherwise, the commission's looking at roughly $100,000 to $150,000 just to maintain the school until they can get grants to do something with it. And I don't know how we can get a grant on something that we don't own.
And the flip side of that is, I'm not sure how we can, attract partners without some type of commitment of ownership.
Right, well, I'm sure, they're not gonna commit to putting money into a project unless we acquire it, but at least we can get their, okay that they would if we own the school.
Yes,
Have something in writing to that effect.
Well, this has been the problem from the beginning.
yes, it's a catch-22.
Yeah, we've been brainstorming without any authority, and the city has reminded us that we don't have that.
This would be something the city would have to do.
Yeah.
Some kind of formal letter that the city sends out,
Either that or authorize us to do it.
Yeah.
Which they haven't
one
done.
or the other.
And that's,
So-
that's the main point. The city has to do it, we can't do it.
Yeah, that's where we are.
well,
And I think we all know that, and we
Yeah.
should emphasize it every time we talk about it.
yes,
And may I bring up an idea or a point? If Ron's point is very well taken, the city doesn't have $150,000 a year to cover the operating costs. We've tried to break it down and make it, try and make it work on paper. If we transfer City Hall there, the cost that runs this campus there, I even have breakdowns of the tax benefits that there would be to selling this property and putting on the tax rolls. I don't know if any of that's gonna sway the commission. I just think that they don't, and when I say they, I don't mean all of us, but there are people on the commission that don't have the vision or the ability to see what I see and what we see as far as the potential. I think that there is another option, and that, is the city gets out of the way and the county takes the property. And I think that at this point might be, as bad as it feels to say that, might be the best option. Because we can work with the county as a partner. We've already said that we were gonna work with them as a partner. But instead of us being the master tenant, the master owner, see if Putnam County will do it. And then we can work with them on the buildings that we wanna use. We can still relocate City Hall there as a partnership. I believe that they are fine covering the operating costs. They have much deeper pockets than we do. I think that, in fact, I'm pretty sure that they are waiting for us to make a move before they do. They don't want to steal it out from under us. But at this point, I don't know if that's not the best idea. Because I really don't feel like we are getting anywhere. Obviously, we haven't even talked to the school district since January. Except for John. And every time we tried to reach out, we got rebuked by the mayor or by the commission. I personally was told to stay in my place. And even when I was talking to St. John's, Joe Pickens, who was a close dear friend of mine, and I was told that I shouldn't have approached him. But, so we're being told that we can do this and we should do this as an advisory board, and then when we do advise, they don't listen. So as much as it feels like, we would, be giving up, I don't think that's what it is. I think that I just think right now the best path forward is to talk to the county, let the county come in, because I think they're ready to move on it.
I think, Commissioner, you bring up a very valuable point. And, what I particularly like is that you're putting out another option, giving us options and perhaps, the best, for success.
I mean,
So I agree that that's an avenue that we should explore.
I just think that seems to be the best path to a goal. And
If, as you said, the county is ready to move on the property, then I quite agree. I think your advice is hard won and heartfelt, and I agree completely. We've all seen the path that this thing is taking. Our mandate, I think this committee was formed, and correct me if I'm wrong, for the purpose of researching options for the future of that school property. This would fall squarely under that mandate. We're not in a position to make commitments. We're in a position to research options.
yes,
If the county already owns the property, then that's a major step that's
it makes sense.
unnecessary.
And then it does make it easier for us, as a city, to see our project go forward kind of and not be responsible for the entire bill. And I really honestly, I've been talking about this and fighting for this for 3 years now at least. And every day I get up and think about this, and every day I go to bed thinking about this. And I really don't want to kind of take a back seat, but I don't think that we're gonna get there with the city driving, to mix the metaphor. But
And as you say, Commissioner, there are possibly a better option, but I think it's important at this time too, that we all recognize what you've done on behalf of this effort, and we have great
I
regard for
I
that.
appreciate what you guys have done. You've been here and every, 2 weeks. I'm kind of supposed to be doing this, you guys don't have to. So I appreciate that. And we've come a very long way, if we think about almost a year ago when we started this. But we have a lot of information that we've gathered that even if we're not the people that take over the school, is gonna help that entity, if it's the county or somewhere else. Because we've done so much, background and research, and we already know where, the power lines come in, all this stuff that's in this report, and the title issues and all that. We've given somebody else a good jump on everything, and I hope that that's what ends up happening, because I still want the property, and I mean, really, ultimately, my biggest concern is what happens to that property, and as long as it is retained in a community service, in a community facility that helps the community and doesn't become a black hole like it's been for 4 years now, that's my biggest, that's my goal. And if the city can be a partner in that, that's great. But I just want it to be something. And I think that this is the best option right now.
I agree. Mr. Chairman, are you in a position, or is the committee in a position to entertain a motion to authorize Commissioner Roy to approach the county to discuss the ideas that he has proposed at this meeting?
Yes, certainly.
So moved.
Is there- Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Okay, stop.
No. The motion passes. Thank you very much.
So I will continue forward and talk not on behalf of the city, but on our city commission, but on behalf of BRC.
Feel free to Commissioner, to call on any or all of us to go with you
Okay.
in these negotiations.
Okay.
And we're only a phone call away, of course.
Yes, thank you.
Keeping in mind, we don't want to violate
Sunshine.
sunshine.
And it's not a negotiation, I can't negotiate, I can talk,
Conversation.
conversation, yes.
All right, moving on. We have old business. Before us today, we have the asbestos report. We've seen this previously, have we
Yes,
not?
yes, we have, yes.
Well, it's nice that we have another copy of it, and I appreciate it. And it should be on our list of documents on file. And when we have the final REG report, that should be last listed, included in our list of documents on file as well. Any other old business?
And just to mention that this is a very good report. I mean, they tested, I believe, 400 different surfaces and stuff in that school, in preparation for demolition, and there was only like 11 or 12 that have any sort of friable material, which means that, kind of airborne. And I actually talked to my stepfather about this. He is a certified asbestos remediation contractor, and he said that, that's, everything that's there is not a big deal. It's like in the tiles, and then some glue. So I mean, everything, because I mean, those kids were in that school for years, so they weren't gonna have, I think the only thing that might be a problem is there might be some pipe insulation in the attic or in the basement, I think. And that is like, in that whole school, I think the only thing that would be of any concern. And that's fine if you leave it alone, So I think that's great news, because as he told me, people use that as a excuse, or a boogeyman. Asbestos, it's like, they had to mitigate a lot of that a long time ago to have kids in that school. Either it encapsulates it, like, I think there's some in the ceiling of the auditorium, but that's why they have a drop ceiling in there. It's been encapsulated and sealed up, right? Is that correct, Ron? Does that sound right? I think it's all, but it's all, it's all safe. And even for demolition, which we don't need to worry about, but.
Well, it's great news, you're correct, because in 1990, I did a number of guest rooms, asbestos group removal, and it was my first time, it was amazing. So we had to seal off each room individually. We had to create an entry with a portable shower.
Yeah.
And then the debris, this is in Broward County, had to be sent to a special site in Dade County.
Yeah.
And that was in 1990. I can only imagine what it would be today.
Yeah, there's a whole process, but really, even then, it can be expensive, but it's not impossible. I mean, it's something that.
Oh, no, not at all.
And what,
Nothing money can't take care of.
what Terry Turner said was that, he was doing the replacement of the windows at the Putnam County Courthouse, and there was asbestos in the window lining, I guess, or the window frames, and so he just had to learn how, he wasn't gonna pay somebody, he learned how to do it himself, and then you have to tape it up, and you're like a spaceman going in there and taking it and packing it all up, but it's not the end of the world, it's just, people like to say it and it sounds scary, but it's just something that, asbestos is a great thing, it's fireproof. It was a miracle when they first found it, because, you can do all kinds of stuff with it.
As a siding for a home, it lasts forever.
Yeah.
You just have to paint it and not ship it.
It's very durable and very non-flammable, which is a good thing. So we just didn't realize that, it'll kill you if you breathe it in.
Anything else under old business? Moving on to agenda, any comment on agenda? And next meeting date?
The 10th, is that what someone said? Okay, I'm good on that.
The June 10th, our usual time and day, at 9 AM, okay.
I'll be in Georgia.
We'll have a good time.
In the Mount Zion.
No, my brother's 87th birthday.
Oh.
That'll make for my kid, June 10th, is that right?
Yes.
Well, you'll be missed. Okay,
That's gonna be at 9 in the morning,
Yes.
yes, thank you.
because we do have tree and garden that evening.
Oh, that's it, yeah. That's fine.
Thank you.
But if you told me a year ago I would be going to a meeting every 2 weeks at 9 AM, laughed in your face.
You're a true warrior.
That's Rachel, that's the true warrior. So she's at home asleep. She just got home from Pittsburgh last night. So,
Did Archie go with it?
now Archie stayed with me.
Good.
He was happy to see her though.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you for our fine audience.
All right, thank you.